week to finally get some wonderful news out of the World Health Organization. I mean, the World Health Organization has been fighting the Zika virus, been dealing with Ebola, but their researchers went over 500 clinical studies about the effect of caffeine, specifically coffee, on the human body. And there have been mixed reports over the years, but what they discovered was most of the studies were done at a time when people were drinking coffee and smoking cigarettes. And so the causality was put on the caffeine when it was actually on the cigarettes that would cause cancer. So the best news in the world for those who like coffee is that you can drink in moderation, 1, 2, maybe even 3 cups of coffee a day. Now, it has to be under 150 degrees because anything more than that might cause esophageal cancer. But the dark days of blaming coffee for cancer is over. So, coffee lovers unite. I know it seems absurd that would blame, coffee for something. And doctors have been doing that for years. But when we can't explain really what is going on, we make up our own narratives to try to figure out why such and such is happening. Look at today's gospel. We see Jesus crossing the Sea of Galilee into the Gentile land, non-Jewish land, because we know that because they were herders of pigs, and Jews did not eat pigs. And the narrative is very interesting, because first off, from a logical point of view, it just doesn't make too much sense. We're 21st century people. But when you try to put it during Jesus' time, it seems to make a lot more sense. You have a man who for years, we're told, was infected with demons. Now, we all have our demons. And I'm not talking necessarily about the devil on our shoulder talking to us. I'm talking about the demons that prevent us from really living our lives the way that God is calling us to live. I mean, think about the many demons that are out there. I mean, there's the demon of alcoholism. There's the demon of drug abuse. There's the demon of self-hatred. There's the demon of too much pride in yourself above everybody else. There are so many demons, and we all, if we're honest with ourselves, know what the demons are in us that cause us to perhaps in times go a little crazy. Clearly, the man that Jesus met was a man with mental illness. We're just now starting to understand much more of mental illness. But it appears that he probably suffered grand mal seizures, schizophrenic. I mean, the laundry list could go on and on and on. But it's not the matter of fact what this was. Is that Jesus actually really didn't care about what was causing the problem. He just wanted to make the person better. He wanted to heal the man so the demons of his life that were inflicting him would no longer cause him or anybody else pain. a society has a great way of demonizing people. The phrase in anti-racism instruction is, we like to scapegoat others. We learn that from a very young age. Brothers and sisters, I'm often to say, oh, it was her fault, or it was his fault, when really it was your fault. Or she made me do it. Goes back to all Adam and Eve, scapegoating, scapegoating, scapegoating. The problem, though, with scapegoating, about blaming others, other entities, other things for those things in life which happen, is that the scapegoating then leads towards the dehumanization of other individuals. The man who was infected by the demons of his life was left alone, sometimes even shackled. You wonder, what were these people doing? That he was probably the root cause of all of their problems. We see it right now in our world so much. The scapegoating that is going on. We see it in Europe, with blaming immigrants for all of the problems of the world. We see it in the United States, where political parties of either side are putting all the blame on the other side, and nobody takes accountability for anything. We saw it a week ago today, when because of such hatred, because of such a willingness to be able to demonize a group of individuals just for who they are. This case was a group of gay and lesbian and bisexual individuals at the Orlando nightclub. And even a mom who was there to support her daughter. And the Latino and Latina community that was there, that were demonizing, that were scapegoating. We're putting all this blame on everyone else instead of looking deep in ourselves to see what part, what responsibility do you and I have in this day, in this age, to stop the scapegoating. When we see scapegoating in action, when we see it in action, how often do we stand up and be like Jesus and try to find healing in that situation? When we see it with our leaders, how often are we willing to pick up the phone and call our congressman or woman, our senators, our presidential candidates, leaders of the world, and demand that we start taking responsibility for our own things that we have done? And I'm not saying there is not evil in the world. Demons do exist. We all have them. And sometimes the demons get so bad, like they are in the Middle East right now, that thousands upon thousands of people are being killed. But instead of scapegoating the others, putting all the blame on another demon, Jesus is asking us to heal ourselves, to have Him heal us of our own internal demons, so that we can and will make the world a better place. Stop blaming. Start taking responsibility. Start living. That's the moral of today's gospel. The man who had no life in the end was able to have life again and to spread great news, great love, great peace. And he was an outsider. Imagine how much more our Lord, who loves his children deeply, wants us to do the same. Amen.
Amen.